Here on the blue team, we have in the bottom lane Hogu Bird supporting on Sona, and that will be LMQ's own Vasily playing Lucian as the AD carry. In the mid lane here for the blue team, it will be Pekin Wolf. He was the previous mid laner for Denial. I'm not actually sure what team he's playing for now, so if anyone knows, feel free to let me know in the chat. Satoshi, please, is going to be on that Darius top once again. We've seen him several times on Darius, and not surprising to see it once again. And then finally, Bahawaka on Aphromoo in the jungle. Over here on the red team, it will be Taser up top taking on that Darius as Jax. Bobkin XD will be in the jungle today playing Lee Sin with Doublelift, and who is pink actually in the bot lane. Aphromoo will be in the mid lane on LeBlanc. It's pretty unique to see Aphro and Doublelift not together, but we'll see. We'll see exactly how they can work together. Maybe they'll have that same synergy even without being in lane together. Let me go ahead and rearrange the scoreboard as well so we can see where everyone is, how they're all doing and facing up. And this will hopefully be a whole lot of fun for everyone involved. Now, up in this top lane, Aphromoo getting a good deal of damage on the Pekin Wolf. This LeBlanc matchup can actually be pretty difficult if LeBlanc gets caught out by Gragas's poke a little bit too much from the barrel roll, since LeBlanc doesn't have a lot of health. However, the distortion as well as LeBlanc's early range can definitely help her to get a bit of an advantage. If she can dodge out from the barrel roll or the explosive cask, then LeBlanc can really mitigate a lot of the Gragas damage and then turn around with the silence and the root and layer on a lot. Right now, we can see Pekin Wolf's high sustain from the passive as well as the consistent barrel rolls really putting him ahead in this lane. Even though it is a melee versus range matchup, which tends to be pretty hard. In the bottom lane, we have Doublelift and Who is Pink pushing up pretty hard up against Vasily. Lucian can get pushed by Caitlyn early game, but once they get into the mid, Lucian will definitely be able to trade with some really heavy team fight damage. And a nice spike. Taser going for a bit of harass up there with the counter strike. Jax can certainly win this matchup if he doesn't do out for too long. Bobkin actually flashing in there with the slow from the red buff and the cripple, and that's Satoshi Please going down for the first blood. That kill does go over to Bobkin, and Satoshi's flash had been blown earlier, so that was such a great pickup there. A solid gank. Aphromoo getting taken pretty low in this middle lane. Pekin Wolf is running low on mana, but of course he always has that Drunken Rage for just a little bit of mana back there. And Vasily is falling pretty far behind on farm. If he can hit all of these, he will catch up, but there's a cannon and you miss, and that's going to hurt quite a bit here. Bobkin did ping in towards the mid, but he was spotted out by a ward and won't be able to come in there. Now Aphromoo actually moving in for the gank here. Looks like he stole away that blue buff. And so he will be trying to move in here, but can't quite find the bandage toss. Doublelift rocking around. Might not know that Aphromoo is here. The pings were there, but Doublelift still playing pretty far forward. Who is Pink walking up here towards the front of the bush, but Aphromoo recalling is not going to have any part of this bottom lane, and that will be 700 gold in the advantage of the red team here, mostly due to that first blood. Not quite getting the full 600, but close. Remember that early kills are diminished in gold for the first 6 minutes of the game. Hogu Bird's finally returning with a bit of poke onto that lane that's been shoving them up pretty hard at this point. Oh, Bobkin coming up in the top lane for another gank. Satoshi's flash is still down. The stun comes in from the counter-strike. There is a slow from the cripple. The sonic wave into the resonating strike for the execute damage. Going to claim another kill for Bobkin XD, who's coming out pretty huge up in this top lane, helping out Taser, shoving that up into the turret to deny as much farm as possible to Satoshi. Fortunately for the blue team, Bahawaka will actually come in here, get a bit of damage on the Bobkin, but not be able to follow it up. He'll at least find some farm in that lane to make up a little bit of this disadvantage that blue team has accumulated early on. Oh, Bahawaka sending up Taser under the turret, but there's no turret aggro yet onto Taser, and he will just continue back to his farming, which is currently 10 ahead of Darius, getting off to a solid start early on against the Darius can really assure the lane, because this early into mid game is when Darius is strongest, but later on, Jax will outskill him enormously, having that really high attack speed from his passive, as well as getting rather tanky. Who is Pink now going in pretty aggressive, but Doublelift has trouble following up. He's pretty low. Bobkin XD finally coming in there, already used the safeguard. Is going to look for a target for the Sonic Wave, but Vasily does dodge backwards just a bit, turns onto Who is Pink for a bit of damage. Doublelift is there on the wings for the return. Has the headshot proc, but chooses not to try to go in on Vasily. Who is pink, still looking for this play here. Falling low, taking a bit of minion aggro. Bobkin XD there. He comes in with the Sonic Wave, goes on the Hogu Birds, does a good amount of damage, takes him below half health, but can't quite finish him off. He's now put red team in a position to push onto this turret, finally do some damage to it. And that will be Doublelift with a few auto attacks, continuing up his farm as well. 11 in the advantage here. Really coming up with a solid showing in the bottom lane, even without his typical support. Bobkin XD now finding Bahawaka up there in the jungle, going to keep him from defending this turret, and Vasily has to be so careful that Doublelift doesn't catch him with those skill shots. Oh, who is pink gets caught up here. Vasily looking for the kill. Throws out the Ardent Blaze, but doesn't quite get the last hit there. Now Doublelift and Bobkin turn around. He doesn't follow up with the Resonating Strike because he understands that giving up a killing spree would not quite be worth it for his team. If he gets that third kill there, he will be definitely something to be stopped by the enemy team. That extra amount of gold could put blue team back in the game here, which they desperately need. Satoshi Please has tried to recover some of that farm, but look at that. Taser coming in with the sun, doing a good amount of damage, and the Apprehend missing. Going to mean that Jax is really coming up big in this top lane. With that Vampiric Scepter, he's going to sustain up for a long time, much longer than Darius can afford to do. Aphromoo is just trying to farm up in this mid lane. Oh, doing massive damage on Peckinwolf is actually going to avoid the farming entirely. The Ignite goes down on the Peckinwolf. There is Bobkin XD for yet another gank. He's looking for the Sonic Wave. He misses it. Peckinwolf dodges out from it enormously. In the Curse of the Sad Mummy, locking up Bobkin on the turret. Turns this around for the blue team. Gets them their first kill of the game. And puts them within 700 gold of the red team. That was the play they needed to get back in here. If they can keep it up, they can get into a really strong mid game. If you look at the team fighting potential here on the blue team, they have a Mumu and Sona with some of the most powerful AoE crowd controls in the game, along with Peckinwolf, Satoshi Please, and Vasily as all very high AoE damage dealers. If they can't quite get it though, this red team is an astounding pick composition. They have Bobkin XD, Doublelift, and Aphromoo, who will all be doing massive damage. And then when they transition in the late game, Bobkin XD can go for a tanky build, alongside Jax, who will be naturally tanky from his ultimate, gaining both armor and magic resist from his attack damage and ability power. With Who is Pink, wild growth, you can turn pretty much any member into a tank. And that will definitely assure them a late game. Don't have quite the team fight potential of the blue team, but here Aphromoo going in on the Peckinwolf, gets the snare there, and there's the Dragon's Rage right back near the turret. Bobkin XD claims a kill there, takes a third, but doesn't give up, or doesn't gain a spree due to his earlier death. Bobkin with a 100% kill participation and actually kill score, 3 kills for his team. Really making plays around the map, and that's what you needed to do as a Lee Sin jungle. He picked up those boots of mobility early on so that he can just make it anywhere around the map to get in there for those Sonic Waves and for those cripples, really crippling each enemy lane here, gaining advantages left and right. Now 1500 for the red team, going to put them quite ahead in items. If you look at the top lane, there's a Bilgewater Cutlass to what is only Ninja Tabai and a Doran's Shield. That Bilgewater going to do work on Satoshi, just helping to keep him in range. That active slow really helps snowball a lane that is ahead. Who's Pink comes in here, takes out the Pink Ward. And while his team goes for Dragon, they could be forced to back out of this when they're all falling low. And there's Bahawaka coming in. He gets the stun, or he gets the smite off. Hogobirds lands a great crescendo on the 2 members. Culling comes across from Vasily, but it misses everyone. He turns around on the Who is Pink, trying to burst him down in time. The shield is there from Who is Pink. He tries to grab him with the piercing light. If he gets one more auto attack, there's the Ardent Blaze. The auto attack not quite coming off. Bahawaka catches on the double lift. He's going to take him out here with the tears. There it is, finally. And Bobkin XD retreating off on the end, going to actually go back in onto Hogobirds, who throws the exhaust on and takes the kill for himself with that red buff. Lulu survived that entire thing, wasn't able to, Vasily wasn't able to catch up to him quite at all of that. entire fight, and that will be blue team reclaiming that lead that red team held for so long. Now Aphromoo and Peckenwolf in a bit of a tussle. The Ignite is down on the Aphromoo. The barrel roll will miss, and Aphromoo will take it with the Sigil of Silence and the auto attack. Up in the top lane, the bleed is down onto Taser, but he will be able to back off of this one. Satoshi, please, getting the lane to himself, should be able to catch up and farm at least. And his pushing will actually prompt Taser not to go back, instead to wait for Bobkin XD, who will come in with the safeguard, miss the Sonic Wave. The damage comes in from the Decimate. Satoshi, please, grabs him back in with the Apprehend. There is the Crippling Strike. He gets him with the second Decimate. Bobkin XD should be able to take out this kill. Misses the second Sonic Wave. Satoshi, please, is running away from this one. Bobkin looking for the safeguard, finally gets it. Satoshi with the ring around the rosy, going to finally go down to the third and point blank Sonic Wave. You know, as long as you only need to hit one, that's the one that you're going to land. Who is Pink trading in with Vasily, but taking a lot of damage. The Ardent Blaze doing work, and Vasily trying to come in, gets the last auto attack, diving the turret. Doublelift tries to turn it on, has the ace in the hole, and is able to sneak it through, but goes down to Hoga Boots immediately after a 2-for-1 in the bottom lane, coming out in the advantage of the blue team, really putting them in the advantage now, bringing this game back. And it's just kind of a series of almost throws from the red team, just giving up kills in their lanes for no big reason. The Dragon Call down here was a large mistake because of the time it took them to do it. They all got low enough on health and didn't even get the dragon. It was Bahawaka who smote that away. Smited? Yeah, it's smote. It's smote. Satoshi, please, now up in the top lane, has to be careful of Bobkin XD, who is looking for blood. He wants his 5th kill of the game, or at least to put Taser on the map here. Bobkin waiting patiently away in that brush, looking for the scent. He's actually dancing out of that brush a bit, but he still will remain stealth. Satoshi walking up ever so slightly. There's a jump in from Taser. He gets the Counter-Strike stun. The safeguard in from Bobkin. Gets a bit of damage on here. There's a slow from the Tempest. The Dragon's Rage back out. Satoshi tries to turn it around with the Noxian Guillotine. Bobkin safeguards a little bit too far, but grabs it with the damage from the Tempest, and Taser does survive through that bleed damage, grabbing them a kill in the top lane. Doublelift falling low. Vasily grabbing out the kill with his Piercing Light. Huge damage. There is the crescendo onto Who is Pink, stunning him up. The Wild Growth actually going to save him here. Vasily almost going down to the turret. The top turret being traded by the red team, going to at least be a bit of a consolation prize for losing that fight tremendously in the bottom lane. Doublelift going down quickly. See this damage from Lucian. Once he gets that BF sword, it's really going to be enormous damage from both both the Q and the W. Now Aphromoo flashes the barrel roll and jumps right back in there for the last few auto attacks. Grabs the kill there, and that was an excellent play by this CLG support. Who knows, maybe we'll see a support LeBlanc coming in soon. It's actually something that we've seen from LMQ on stream before. Vasily is the AD carry for that team, and his support is more. And they pulled out a Lucian LeBlanc lane, I believe, was the combination. It didn't work for them, but maybe Aphromoo has figured out the secret, and that's to take her mid. Still an interesting game, very close. 200 gold separates the teams. Only one turret has been taken, and a dragon was returned by the other team, so it's really in the balance. However, you have to remember this Lee Sin, although he can transition into a late game tank, won't be quite as effective as a Mumu. He doesn't have the necessary crowd control or the damage that Amumu has. Those tiers really do an enormous amount in the enemy team with the percent health damage. Peckenwolf grabbing away that blue buff will be able to sustain here in the mid lane for a bit longer, and he wants to catch up and farm to Aphromoo, who is ahead by about 20 so far. That's going to be the biggest CS discrepancy we can see, besides the bottom lane, where there is about 25 in Doublelift's favor. I'm almost saying Afrolift at this point. They're almost so inseparable. There's the culling coming across, but it's going to be absorbed by Bobkin, who then proceeds in with the Sonic Wave. The huge Wild Growth going to knock both of them up, continue to slow them. A really great synergy here from Lulu and Lee Sin. Bobkin grabbing the kill out of that one onto Sona. A kill for the jungler, a kill for the AD carry, and a lot of turret pressure here for the red team, turning the game back around in their favor with a 1,300 gold advantage. 15 minutes into the game, we're going to start to see some big items picked up here. That will be Caitlyn going for the Bloodthirster, I believe. Taser coming in with the Blade of the Rune King on Satoshi, please. Gets a huge slow on him. Sasashi's trying to run away, has the movement speed. to get away until the leap strike is back up. Doublelift now caught out here by the bandage toss. Might look to mount the 1 versus 2. He cleanses out of the Curse of the Sad Mummy. He has a trap there for the defense. It's going to be snared up by Bahawaka on the turret. He went in a little bit too far with that bandage toss, and now it's Bahawaka trying to run away, but I don't think he'll escape from this one. Aphromoo comes up, hits his ultimate on a minion, and Bahawaka is actually going to survive from this one. Aphromoo gets the last Sigil of Silence, but it's not enough damage, and that was a huge misclick on the minion. Now with Vasily going in, he tries to turn around on the Aphromoo, who gets taken out before he can throw out much at all. Doublelift trying to escape on the end here. The crescendo from Hojobliss is down, but the auto attack is going to be enough from that power chord to take out Doublelift. The CLG duo is down. Who is Pink might be the next to go. Vasily comes in with the Relentless Pursuit, grabs the last auto attack, and puts up a 5th kill on the board. 2 Bloodthirsters for each of these 80 carries. But Lucian really coming ahead in that trade. His the bonus attack damage on that Piercing Light gives him, at this point, he has 157 bonus damage on that Q AoE. That's 120% of his Bloodthirster. So once he stacks it up to full, his Bloodthirster will give him an extra 120 damage on each Q, and a pretty significant range in front of him. Now blue team will go for their second dragon of the game, but this one they won't have to steal away. They will instead take it from 100 to 0 in quick fashion, not allowing red team to get in there at all. Bobkin instead is just going to go through his jungle. I keep trying to call it the forest at this point, as I put that in my head, and just looking at this is in no way a jungle. Whoever called this a jungle has never been to a jungle before. Bobkin missing the Sonic Wave on the stationary targets will then proceed in and go in with the Tempest Cripple. And I don't mean any bad mouthing to Bobkin. I'm just teasing him about that. He's an exceptional player. I believe he is at Diamond 1 right now, very high up there, close to his Challenger promos. And if I'm not mistaken, this even could be his Challenger promos, and these are certainly some astounding players. Taser moving in onto Peck and Whip, flashes in, but misses the stun. He was a bit too late. There's a bandage toss in from Bahawaka, along with the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Could be Taser's doom. The explosive cask forcing him even closer to the turret, and that was the womboest of the combos. Sonic Wave on the Hogo Bird is going to try and keep him off of Doublelift. The Dragon's Rage back almost put Doublelift in a bit of a pickle, but instead he will grab out the kill there. Vasily looking for the turret here is instead going to turn his attention on the Bobkin, flashing in, misses the Ardent Blaze, tries to get on Doublelift, but he's in the middle of 3. The Culling comes across, he dashes with the Ardent Blaze, he takes out Lee Sin, but misses his dash over the wall, and Aphromoo should find his target there. The shutdown comes in from the Ace in the hole. Doublelift finding a 4th kill for himself. He's 4-4 at this point. That was only to bring him even. In a bit of a rough spot, but farming up a Storm could certainly come into a strong mid-game here once he gets up some attack speed. With the bandage toss there onto Bahawaka, he forces the Wild Growth out from Lulu. Doublelift with a bit of health is going to turn this back around on the Bahawaka, go in with the auto attacks and take him low. But right now, Aphromoo is in a position to die. He has his Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, as well as his Sunfire Cape, so he's going to be incredibly tanky coming in here. Interesting seeing a jungler without the Ancient Golem. It's just become such a mainstay, but with that Spectral Wraith, that really solves a lot of Amumu's mana problems, as well as giving him some solid sustain in the jungle. Once he spams those abilities, it'll restore both his health and his mana, and you can see it right there, helping him get back up from that perilous position Doublelift placed him in. The mid lane is almost even in CS. Top lane is only 20 separating them, which isn't too much right now, but the bottom lane is where the biggest is. There's 40 CS in Doublelift's favor, and he's going to hopefully use it to come into the mid game. That Cloak of Agility will be going into a Phantom Dancer, and he needs it soon. They're losing turrets across the map. Our red team in a pretty rough spot as we move further into the game. Vasily coming in for the 1v1 on to Doublelift. Doublelift turns it back around, but they do retreat a bit. Now around the blue, the steal actually came out from Bobkin XD. He managed to get that away. So claiming something for the red team here is going to at least relieve them just a bit, as they have been behind almost 2,000 gold for quite some time. At this point, though, the gold is starting to matter less and less as the items do come out. If you look at Aphromoo, that is the Deathfire Grasp to help his combo, but he won't be using it here in the bottom lane, where the Piltover Peacemaker finds the kill. Doublelift grabbing the kill before the ace in the hole even comes out. Vasily now hexed up, going to continue in onto who is pink and Doublelift with Peck and Whiff coming in from the top. He's going to completely ignore Doublelift, just going for the free kill onto the support, throwing in the barrel roll just in case who is pink runs through. He flashes right onto the barrel, which does explode, but it is the culling that takes him out. That was almost the best reading I've ever seen there from Peck and Whiff. If that barrel would have grabbed the kill, I might have had to throw that into the highlight book, but instead it will be Vasily defending 1 versus 2 against this bottom lane. Aphromoo tries to jump in, but the Relentless Pursuit is just a little bit too far range for Aphromoo to get in there. It will leave the turret open, though, for Doublelift and Aphro to turn it around. Bobkin trying to escape from Peck and Whiff here. Peck and Whiff body slams the wrong way, lands the barrel roll, though. Bobkin trying to juke this out. It's going to stay on top of a ward. Now comes right around here. The explosive cast lands onto him, though. The barrel roll finds him with the ignite ticking down. That will be another kill for Peck and Whiff here. Actually, the first kill for Peck and Whiff here. I thought that he had done quite a bit more, but he's only 1-3-3 so far. His jungler, however, is on fire at 3-0-2 with a 7-3-2 Lucian. Aphromoo coming in here, he gets the double silence, but it doesn't do much damage at all. He flashes over for the snare, but he doesn't have a team to back him up here with the crescendo onto Aphromoo. Hogo Birds doing quite a bit of damage. The Deathfire Grasp coming across on the Hogo Birds, but he doesn't fall. The barrel roll going to take him out before his team can return anything without an ace in the hole. Doublelift doesn't have the kit to finish off that Sona support, who's looking to be on fire now. 3-3-7. If you throw a 1 on there, that would be the most elite score in the game. And it's really going to have to rely, I believe, on Jax and Caitlyn's late game. If Doublelift can continue to farm up to a really good spot where he gets some crit as well as armor penetration, then maybe he'll be able to auto-attack this from a distance. However, with the dive coming out from Baja Waka, as well as the huge damage from Vasily at this point, I'm not sure he's going to be able to live that long, which could put him in a pretty rough spot. Right now, things have toned down a little bit, and so I could point out Satoshi's pretty typical build here for Darius. Not that it's a typical Darius build, but that he chooses to do it quite a bit. And he goes for a Blade of the Ruined King into a Trinity Force. I've seen it quite a bit, and it's never worked for him, to be fair, every time that I've seen it. The idea behind the Blade of the Ruined King is that it gives you attack speed for your procs. It gives you a solid late game with some percent health damage, but mostly it overcomes Darius's issues with being kited. That Blade of the Ruined King helps you catch up to someone to land the successive crippling strikes and to possibly bring them in with the Apprehend. Red team takes out the dragon, even though the explosive cast came in. Peck and Whiff not quite able to delay that, and red team will return a bit of the gold here. Still within about 2,000. No team really either to press either advantage too well. Satoshi pushing in the top lane is actually taking a powerful position here over Jax, who's afraid to go in here. He knows that without a jungler, if he takes too many bleed stacks, that Noxian Guillotine could spell the death of him, and he's not going to trust the 100% dodge from that counter-strike quite yet. Taser goes in on Satoshi, please, and decides that he can test it with Bobkin coming in here. He's going to move right in here, and Taser will actually take him out solo before Bobkin can even assist. Maybe he should have gone in a bit earlier, because that was an excellent play there from Jax, claiming that solo kill and enabling him to get further ahead in this top lane. Blue team has just formed a huge group here in the mid. The culling comes across onto Aphromoo, but it won't do quite enough. It will force Aphromoo into defensive position. The explosive cast tries to finish off who was pink, but not quite enough AP is on Gragas yet. He only has the Athens and the blasting wand. Everyone on the red team getting their position until Aphro comes. Oh, but with the huge crescendo, it will stop Aphromoo in his tracks. Bobkin moving in behind this team. They have to be careful of Bahawaka, though. He's one of the most powerful members on the blue team at this point. If he lands that CC, it could certainly spell doom. Bahawaka going to run right up here, get the red buff soul on the Bobkin. The rest of his team is going to opt for this turret, though, as they begin to peg it down. Vasily getting a lot of damage on there with his Bloodthirster Trinity Force combo. Aphromoo waiting around the wings, wants to go in on someone, but just can't quite find the target and has to be afraid of his health. Despite having the double dash from his distortions, I'm not sure he can survive a full-on engage from Bahawaka. Doublelift continuing to farm up is now at 228, 50 ahead of his opposing ADC, but he hasn't been able to turn into much. He's 5-4-0, so he's had decent participation on his team, but he hasn't been able to keep his turrets alive, and they really need to be able to win a fight or just be able to outpressure the map if they want to come back here. And right now, I'm not sure they're making the efforts to do so. Bahawaki standing over the side here, wants to go for the blue steal, but will be caught out there by Lulu. And decides to back off at this one. Aphromoo taking that blue. He's going to be able to spam his spells a little bit more often, especially having that mana regeneration. Having a hard time finishing off that blue lizard, though. Finally grabbing it. With his Deathfire Grasp, it will give him 20% cooldown reduction from the item and the buff. And if we take a look at his page, he has actually not a single point of cooldown reduction on his masteries or his runes, which is pretty interesting. I'd expect to see him take cooldown reduction out of that mastery tree, and I'd be interested to see if he instead that's interesting. I don't know where that where those mastery points would have gone. Bahawaki tries to move in there, tries to look for that Curse That's Head on me, but can't quite find the opportunity. Peck and Woof just gonna wait on the wings for that explosive cask, and that might have been his opportunity, but it was only the support. You might want to save those abilities for some higher priority targets. Blue team is in a good position, but they haven't been grouping right now. They're actually letting the red team push onto him, but it could spell their doom if they get too close to Bahawaka here. Taser moving on the Hogsbirds, gets a bit of damage, throws down the blade of their own king, but then gets caught out by between 5 members with the jump right back over the wall. He's actually going to be survived 5 for a second until he finally falls. The huge culling coming across here as Bahawaka does take out Aphromoo. Doublelift just having to retreat off the side here as Peck and Wolf chases down who is pink, flashes over the wall. Vasily actually was able to take out Doublelift, shut him down, and will now be able to move on to who is pink with that red buff. He tries to use that Mikhail's Crucible on himself, but it's not enough to get away from the likes of Vasily, who is on fire here. Bloodthirster, Trinity Force, and a BF Sword. Once he makes that into an Infinity Edge, it's going to be a huge amount of damage from his auto attacks staggered in between his abilities. With that Gunslinger passive, those double shots do a lot of damage. Vasily now finding on the Bobkin, grabs the kill with the red buff tick, and will be able to help his team take down Baron, which is already down to half. This looks like it's blue team's game. Even though they're only 5,000 gold ahead, this Baron and the utter map control they've been displaying for the past 10 minutes has put them in the opportunity to call the shots. It's red team responding to them, and even though this is a particularly freak-friendly game with 3 Trinity Forces, you can see 2 of them are here on the blue team, and they're doing work with them. Satoshi has been able to do a bit of damage in teamfights, not as much as he would like to, but it's really Vasily coming out here with the massive damage, picking up that Infinity Edge. Even Aphromoo can't take on Bahawaka. He can hardly damage him at this point without taking a lot of his health in return. And if you look at Bahawaka's build, he's picked up the Abyssal Scepter, which not only synergizes really well with the Mimu's kit, but also his Sunfire Cape, that item he picked up as his second. One interesting tidbit, which I guess most people should know, but that I didn't for a long time, is that Amumu's passive does reduce magic resistance on an enemy when he auto-attacks them. And so if he can walk around a team fight crying and auto-attacking enemies, he can certainly buff up his own team, but it's pretty hard to get off, which makes it a great passive in some instances, and in some cases it can be not too useful. Blue team now moving down here forward. The Dragon Bahawaki going to tank that up and use his smite, claiming it easily. The blue team hardly needs to really all follow to take that, since there's not a good chance of them losing, but they are bringing their gold up to an 8,000 lead and decide to back off. Despite their recent buys, they still have quite a few hundred gold in their pockets, and they'll be able to line themselves up with quite a bit. If you take a look at Vasily, he was able to purchase a pickaxe, which will go into that last whisper once he's able to build it. The double Warden's vest from the... or Warden's Mail from the top and the jungler here on the blue team will be a Randuin's and a Frozen Heart respectively, if I call that correctly. It looks like Aphromoo will be building into that mana and armor item from the Glacial Shroud, and Satoshi will be able to use the slow from the Randuin's to stick on the enemies even better, which at this point he certainly needs if he wants to stick onto mobile champions like Taser or Aphromoo. Vasily Hogu Birds and Peckinwolf moving here into the bottom lane, going to catch out Doublelift with a bit of damage from the Ardent Blaze, but not going to find too much here except a turret. Bobkin tries to flash in there to get it, but he has to safeguard right back out. And that will be the turret going down here for the blue team. Around the side, Bahawaka was trying to initiate, and there it is. He finds the bandage toss and immediately blows up. Who is pink? That is a support down without using the wild growth, which means the blue team can roll through the space, take out the first inhibitor turret and inhibitor of the game to shortly follow. Bahawaka moves in on to Doublelift, and Bahawaka tanks up the damage there, gets the heal from... Actually, I'm not sure where he got the heal from, because it wasn't from the Mikhail's Crucible, certainly. But still, surviving up quite a bit. I guess it was just from the Sona. That Sona heal is enough to was enough to keep him alive there. And Aphromoo just not able to find any targets for that burst, is 2-3-2, and is falling off here into the late game to the likes of Gragas, who not only scale well with ability power, but always have that initiation potential with the explosive cask that makes them useful in the late game. Satoshi stealing away the red buff will continue to claim advantages for his team, and even though he doesn't have the best score, our humans are certainly ahead. Who is pink? Catches on to Satoshi, but can't quite go in there, and is going to have to back out here as our team just tries to reclaim as much of their jungle as they can, try and make up some gold. Doublelift still ahead in CS, but he's one of the only ones who can claim so. Taser has a few more kills under his belt as well on those creeps. But at this point, like I've said, it's not the minions that matter, it's the fact that our blue team has their massive items, and they are grouping and pushing out these objectives incredibly well with 6 turrets and several dragons over the red team. They have now come out to their 10,000 gold advantage, which is one of the biggest mile marks that you can claim. If they look for the opportunity to go for the Baron once it spawns, it's still more than 2 minutes. If they're looking for this timer, they have it wrong, but they certainly should be able to fight it out. Oh, look at that damage from Vasily on the Doublelift, bursting him down immediately, getting the crit from the Infinity Edge, and having that armor penetration from the Last Whisper. Just obliterated Doublelift. That was almost hard to cast for how fast it went by. That will be the inner turret going down in the top lane. And red team is just slowly getting pushed farther and farther back into their base. Bahawaka grabs on the Bobkin, realizes that's not the target he needs either, but saves that Curse of the Sad Mummy for another fight here. He still has all of his health though, and he can certainly look for a second target there. That's going to be Satoshi leading the charge into that base, taking out the first inhibitor turret. This is going to be the inhibitor falling shortly after, and with blue team claiming the base, I'm not sure this game will last much longer. Aphromoo jumps in to look for something with that distortion message, jump right back out. Bobkin almost dying to Vasily there. The culling comes across, but Taser body blocks it up. The culling is doing massive damage right now, which is not something I'm used to saying. Right now, blue team has moved in onto this base. Everyone's staying alive on the red, but they have given up their first Nexus turret. Are now looking to give it the second. Bobkin tries to move in onto Vasily, who is pink, ends up in the wrong place, and he does fall there to Vasily. The big Curse of the Sad Mummy grabs a double kill out from that explosive cask. Bobkin XD there, caught up by the Noxian Guillotine, a triple kill for Peckinwolf, and a couple of kills for the rest of his team, going to spell the game out here for our humans. The buggers have been eliminated. It is full out Xenocide here on Summoner's Rift.